So, welcome along to the Broken&Unseen podcast. Joining me for a conversation today is my friend, my guy Ali. Ali, welcome to the podcast. It's been a long time. We haven't seen each other, just probably off of social media, and I'm glad you accepted my invite to come on the podcast and share your experience. We first met at Metal Globus in Bucharest. I don't know if you can remember, and we had such a good time for the few weeks we were together. And now you're out there in Bahrain with Citra Club Football. And I'm glad you're doing okay. I'm glad everything turned out okay for you. And yeah, man, how are you doing, bro? It's been a long time. Talk to me. How are you?
Good. Thank you very much for having me on the podcast. Uh, it's been a very long time since the last time we've seen each other, but I really hope that you're doing well. I would like to congratulate you for the podcast. I think it's an amazing work what you're doing, and I'm pleased and honored to be on your podcast today.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. So since I know you have to go for your training in a few minutes, so let's just go straight into it, man. Talk to me. Like for those who are going to be listening, who is Ali and where do you come from, bro? Just chat to us for a second.
Sure, sure. So, my name is Ali Nasser. I am a football player born in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I grew up playing football in Spain for a few years, and from Spain I came to Bahrain for a very short time. But then I immediately moved to Romania, and that's where we met. And after being in Romania, I came back to Bahrain again as they had a program of citizenships where if you play for 5 consecutive years in the Bahraini league and you're good enough to represent the Bahrain national team, then they give you a Bahraini citizenship, and that's what I've been do. What that's what I have done, and now I am a Bahraini citizen. Thankfully, after playing in the league for 5 years, I am now eligible to represent the Bahrain national team. So I played in two clubs in Bahrain, East Rifah Club and now Citra Club. This is my third year in Citra,
Yeah, bro.
and it has been, as any football career with a lot of ups and downs, but always learning and always trying to improve.
Nice, man. Nice. So it's bro, your journey has been it's been such a long one from Riyadh to Spain to Romania, and I even saw somewhere you actually went also to Lithuania at some point, or was it Belarus?
To
And
Belarus, yeah, to Belarus.
yeah, yeah. So just talk to me for a second. How was it? How was your childhood like in Riyadh? And you said you were born in Riyadh. So for how long
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
were you in
So,
Riyadh? How was your childhood and everything?
I have 9 siblings. I come from a family that's not an athletic family at all. I'm the first one to get into sports. So at the beginning, it was not easy, especially
Yeah,
to convince my parents that I want to be a football player. My parents wanted me to focus on studies and then to work with them, but I was very stubborn. I made sure that I worked very hard on what I wanted, and I sacrificed a lot of things. At certain points, went against what my parents wanted, but then when I actually reached to a certain level of professional football, they got convinced that I am serious about my life and about what I want, and now they are supporting me completely, and they are convinced about what I'm doing, thankfully.
amazing, amazing, bro. So yeah, talk to me about like how is it you're born in Riyadh and then you end up in Spain? Did you
Yeah.
just follow your dreams to go to Spain, or did you have some family in Spain, or how did that come about?
All right. So, as you know, I was born in Riyadh, and my family originally are from Yemen. They're not Saudi
Okay,
Arabians.
yeah,
And what I wanted to say is that going to Spain, my family wanted me to focus more on studies. They thought that me traveling to Spain would be a good way to improve my school, my studies. And but I had different intentions going to Spain. I wanted to become a professional football player.
yeah,
I hustled a lot in Spain trying to play football, moved around a lot of football clubs in Spain, in the youth divisions, from the under 13s to the under 14s, under 15s. And then I played for one team called Samboy, which their youth team was in the first division of the under 17s in Spain.
Yeah.
I played there for 2 years and then was able to make it to the first team of Samboy.
Yeah.
Uh, After that, when I was in Spain every summer, I come back to visit my family, in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh. And when I finished high school, I came back to visit my family, and then my father insisted on me not going back to Spain. He
Yeah.
said, "You're not going to continue anymore football there. I want you to continue your studies here in Saudi Arabia next to me, and later on work with me." I was very shocked, but unfortunately, I was depending on my family's finances. I couldn't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
spend on myself. I had no source of income, so I was forced to not go back to Spain. So that was, one door closing, but this thing opened for me the Bahrain door. It opened for me another door, which is coming to Bahrain for the first time with my father.
Yeah. So, and when you eventually got to Bahrain, that's when you had to push for your football. So, I'm wondering, like, if your dad was he intentionally trying to stop you from pursue your football dream by telling you, okay, you're not going to Spain anymore. You have to stay here. You have to learn. You have to study. You have to come work with me at the company. Or how did you cope with such a decision from your dad?
Yeah, yeah, it was intentional from my father, and it was also my older brother, and
Yeah.
because there is a big age difference between me and my older brother. He's like my second father, basically,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they both like forced me to stay here, not to go back to Spain. They wanted me to focus on my studies, to work with them. But it was a shocking news for me. It was a shocking decision. It was depressing for me for a certain period of time.
Yeah.
But then I had to decide whether I give up and do what they're asking me to do, or should I just go all in and try to give my best in the football world. And I
Yeah.
decided to sacrifice everything. I At a certain point, I told them, I don't need you guys to spend on me anymore. I'm gonna be completely independent, no matter how little income I earn at the beginning. I'm happy and satisfied with that as long as it comes from football. And
Yeah.
that's what made me decide to come to Bahrain at the beginning. Thankfully, I came here, to be honest, because look at me now. I am a happy and proud Bahraini citizen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And exactly, after that, I still had the dream of becoming a professional football player in Europe. I always, since I was in Spain, I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to become professional, play in Europe, top leagues, which is, I think, every football player's dream at the beginning.
Yeah. Of
So
course.
that's what made me travel to Romania, and that's where we met, in Metalo Globus,
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
and and that's where I met my current wife. My wife right now, she's Romanian,
She's
and
Romanian. Nice,
yeah,
bro.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Actually, I know my wife from Spain. We went to the same school together.
Nice.
Yeah, but we were not that close to each other when I was in Spain. But later on, when I traveled to Romania, I got into contact with her, and that's when we got, a stronger connection between us. And now she's my wife. And
That's
soon,
amazing.
actually,
Congrats,
we are
man.
going to celebrate our 10-year anniversary.
Whoa, congrats, bro. That's amazing, bro. That's amazing.
Thank you,
So,
brother. Thank
did
you.
did you guys get married in Romania or in Bahrain or in Riyadh? I want to know.
First of all, we did the marriage contract in Bahrain.
Yeah.
But it was during COVID, so we couldn't do any celebration. But then a year later, we went to Romania. My father came with me to Romania, and we did the wedding in Romania with her and her family, and my father. It was a
Yeah.
small, celebration. So
It must
yeah,
have been amazing, bro. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Nice.
It was nice. It was nice, especially
So, bro,
coming back to Romania after a long time. Because
yeah.
I was there in Metalo Globus. I came back to Bahrain, and that's when I signed for East Rifa Club, and
Yeah.
that's when I started playing in Bahrain professionally. And then 2 or 3 years later, I moved to Belarus, and that's when I got the offer from the Belarusian, Premier League. I played there for a season, and then coming back to Bahrain another year, and then I came back to Romania. So it was a nice feeling, but also a little bit strange for me.
I can imagine. So, but like I remember before this when the season started in Metalo Globus, like I don't know exactly if how long did you stay after I left? Because when I got injured, I have to leave. I had to leave because I was on loan, and I got injured, and I was sent back to my club. So how long did you stay in Metalo Globus?
I didn't stay long actually. When I was in Metalo Globus, I was there training for a month, around a month and a half, and then they told me that I couldn't sign with them because they cannot pay me, and it's basically going to be for free. And it was a little bit difficult for me to do that, considering that I am completely dependent on football. So
Yeah, yeah,
I had to
of
go and
course,
look for something else.
of course. So, but anyways, my next question is gonna be like growing up between different cultures. You were born in Riyadh, you moved to Spain, to Romania, to Belarus. How was it like when you, for example, leave Riyadh? You know, I think there's no winter. You come to Europe. There's winter. The food, the culture. How was it like coping with the differences?
At the beginning, look, growing up in Riyadh, especially back then, it was a very cultural place. And me traveling to Spain for the first time and seeing a completely different world, completely different culture, it was a cultural shock for me at the beginning.
Yeah,
Uh, but I think that I overcame that very quick. Like in few months, I was already adapting to the Spanish lifestyle. I made a lot of friends in Spain, and they helped me, integrate into their culture and not finding that strange anymore. And
yeah,
going back and forth from Saudi Arabia every summer back to Spain and then to Saudi Arabia helped me adapt in a better way.
nice. So, bro, it must have been difficult for you, you know, leaving your family in Riyadh, coming to Spain, to school, and eventually, I mean, you said at the back of your mind, your family was sending you away to probably send you away from football, but they didn't know that they were sending you to football. So, how did you like maybe cope with being away from your family and experiencing a whole new life? How was that for you?
It was difficult, I'm not gonna lie. It was difficult, but I really liked, like I was in love with football. I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna do whatever in order to fulfill my dream, in order to become a professional football player. And
Yeah,
when you are in Spain, and I think Spain is where real football happens. It's where the culture of football is in Spain. You find people playing everywhere. The way they coach you there is different. The way they speak to you about football is different. So
yeah,
I just fell in love more and more with football being in Spain. And yeah, I didn't really have a very good results at school there, and my family noticed that. But then they kind of like let me continue being in Spain until I graduated from high school. And I think that was the perfect moment for them to be like, you have to come back right now. While
yeah,
for me, I had different goals. I was planning to continue playing in Spain, to try to go, bit by bit from, third league to second league, eventually to first league. That was what I have planned for myself. But it didn't happen. As you know, in life, not everything you plan happens at the end.
happens. Yeah, nice. So, I mean, when did it finally occur to you that okay, this is now I'm a professional football player, or now this I'm living the life of a football player? When did that happen?
It's when I signed my first contract in Bahrain, actually. When I played for East Rifa Club, I saw what it feels to actually, a football team depends on you, to win a game. A coach relies on you. You're starting to earn money, you have a salary, you're earning money. So that's what made me actually focus on football more and more.
Yeah.
And I became very obsessed as well with, the wellness and fitness and, rehabilitation and strengthening the body and injury prevention and all of that.
Nice. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around your family not supporting football. They wanted you to do probably something else, like go to college, come back home, work with the family. And so how did it feel like when you finally signed that first contract and you told your dad, like, look, now I'm a professional football player and now I can make money from football? What was that reaction?
I kind of look, I got the approval of my father, but it was indirect. He didn't come to me directly and said, "Oh, I agree with what you're doing, and congratulations for doing that." You know, it was a different type of relationship between me and my father. So I think he approved, he respected me more, but he wasn't 100%, with what I was doing. I think only after 3 or 4 years of me playing professionally, that's when he started realizing that, yeah, that's what Ali wants to do, and I'm gonna support him for doing that.
Nice. Because I'm trying to think about the scenario where you're telling him, look, Dad, now I can finally make money from football. Because I'm thinking to myself, probably he was, it's our parents always want the best for us. And most of the times they probably think, I mean, for me and you, our generation, we didn't have a lot of social media. And a lot of our parents didn't really see what parents of maybe aspiring footballers see now, the lifestyle, the money that comes with football. So I'm trying to like wrap my head around the fact that your father is like now he really believes that okay, Ali can make a life from football. Football is a thing, you know. So does he come to your games? Does he come to watch you play? How has that how has that been, bro?
Well, to be honest, look, it was not enough for my father at the beginning. As you know, I
Yeah,
didn't start playing professionally with a very big contract. It was very little money. It was, enough for me to survive, to go, through the month. It was good for me. Like, it was satisfying for me because it was coming from what I love doing, the most, football.
yeah,
For him, it was not enough. And he thought that probably if you were working with me or if we could do something that's not football, you would have a better life. He was still worried about me. He was scared that I would continue playing football year after year after year, but earning the same amount of money or not being able to, you know, upgrade my life or be more independent on myself. So eventually, by time, he started seeing that my contracts are getting a little bit better, and that's when he started asking more questions, becoming more interested in football, in my games, in my results. But to be honest, my father has never came to the stadium to watch me play. He did
yeah,
watch me on TV a couple of times, but my father never came to the stadium, even though he was in Bahrain a lot of time, but he doesn't come to the stadium to watch me playing football.
yeah. But I mean, I believe he's proud of you because I know when if your parents want you to follow a certain path, and because they believe that that's the path that is good for you, and you take a different path, but you still succeed, it still makes them proud. Like you chose
Yes,
what you
definitely.
think is good for you, you followed your dream, and you eventually made it, and you're living the life, you know.
I
So
hope so. I hope that they are proud of me. I hope so. But from
no,
what I
you've
see,
done well for yourself.
I think yeah, they are proud of me.
Yeah, nice one, bro. So talk to me about the difference in the football systems, or let me say, okay, you've been to Spain, you've been to Romania, and now you play in Bahrain. What do you think is the difference in the football culture and the systems that you see? Is it the same or is there a difference?
Okay, so they're definitely not the same. They're actually very different. These three football, systems. In Spain, it's very technical. It's all about the player's technical ability. his tactical understanding, how you can position your body, how you can control, how you can pass, how fast you can make a decision. That's what I thought made, separated certain players from others in Spain. In Romania, it was a very physical league. Romania was all about, a lot of long balls, a lot of running. Romanians naturally are bigger players. They're bigger than me, and that's made it difficult for me at the beginning. But it was actually the same in Belarus as well. Belarus is very similar to Romania. A lot of tall players, a lot of long balls. The weather as well in these countries make it difficult to play. Something I'm not used to. For example, in winter, the temperatures could go to -20 or -15, in Belarus or in Romania. So coming to Bahrain, playing in Bahrain, Bahrain is a very tactical league. It's not an easy league to play in, as I know a lot of players who have been coming from much bigger and better leagues but not succeeding in Bahrain. And then they would leave Bahrain and go play again there and they would have a good season. Bahrain is very tactical in my opinion. Like, you need to respect what the coaches want, how the team, every team has a certain type of, football, and every game is different. You cannot say that in Bahrain there is a team that's guaranteed to win the league, for example. No matter how many superstars you can bring on this team, it all depends on how you can read the opponent or how you can improve yourself tactically. I think Bahrain is a very tactical league, actually.
So, and you made mention earlier of the fact that, uh, I mean, every player dreams about playing in Europe. So, talk to me a little bit about that. Like, do you still dream of, now you're married? Once the missus is in the picture, now it's no longer about you. You have to consider what she wants, what the family wants. So, what if you get a call tomorrow to come to Europe to try out, or probably in Italy, in England, in Spain? How is that like? Is that still something at the back of your mind?
Uh, right now, of course it is, but it doesn't really matter for me anymore where the call is coming from, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in Asia, whether it's in, the Gulf where I am in right now. It all matters on how good the contract is. You have to consider a lot of things now. Like, if I am going to Europe, in Europe there are a lot of taxes, for example. So you have to consider that as well. Coming to
For sure.
play in the GCC or in Bahrain, for example, the quality of life here is very, very good. And, playing in Asia, it's a complete different, world football, but as well, they pay good money there. So it matters on what type of contract you're getting. And that's when you start, studying the contract with your family and seeing what can be the best for all of you, not just you.
For sure. For sure. For sure. That's a good answer, man. And so I'm going to ask you. We've all been seeing the kind of contract that these guys are getting in Saudi. Talk to me about
Yeah,
Saudi, man. Like, what's the difference between Saudi and Bahrain? Is the contracts, are they the same? It's the same area, Gulf region. Talk to me about these contracts, bro.
you're right. But, Saudi is on another level, to be honest. Right now, in my opinion, I think that the Saudi league is growing and it's becoming at the same level as the top five leagues in Europe. I think it's at the same level right now. Football wise, contracts wise, it's even bigger. I think it's as big as the Premier League at the moment, like
It's
contracts
I
wise.
think it's I think it's even more because the players are getting outrageous amounts of money, and the taxes too, bro. It's tax free money, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's why we get a lot of players. This tax free is all over the Gulf. And we get a lot of players coming from Europe and they prefer to stay here. They like it here. The lifestyle here is very safe, very calm, you know, and they're like, at the end, whatever I earn from the club is only for me. I don't have to pay taxes. That's why they
yeah.
decide to come here or even stay in Saudi Arabia. We hear a lot of big names moving to the Saudi league right now. And I think that, yeah, Bahrain is far from that. Bahrain is not coming close to Saudi Arabia. Hopefully they do, but right now I think Saudi Arabia football in Saudi Arabia is like on the top of the whole GCC region.
Yeah,
Like
amazing.
then you have,
So
Bahrain is more similar to Kuwait, to the Omani League. You can say the UAE, Qatar, but even though UAE and Qatar are growing faster and going, trying to catch up with Saudi Arabia, but it's not gonna be easy.
I can see that. So uh, let's shift a bit from the Gulf region, from Saudi and back to Europe. I remember you made mention of the fact that when you left Metal Globus, you went to Belarus for a while. So how was that experience like for you? And what did you learn in the short period of time that you were there in Belarus? And how has it affected your game, and how has it affected you as a person right now?
I think that the Belarus experience has been very positive for me. I think it's the time of my career where I improved physically the most. I made a very big jump physically by playing in Belarus, by having my preseason there, by training with the team there. Some days we would have 3 sessions per day. You know, the team where I played, we had an old coach with a very old mentality, and it was just all about running, running, running. It's all about hustling and getting faster and stronger. And at the beginning, it was difficult for me at the beginning, but I adapted very soon. And I think coming back to Bahrain after Belarus, I noticed that, oh, I made a very big jump physically. And I think that's what Belarus did to me. It was a complete different culture for me. People there don't speak English. It was difficult to, they speak Russian there. So you had to always communicate with them through the Google Translate. But I would consider it as a successful, experience for me, to be honest.
Yeah, nice. So let's talk. Let's go away from football a little bit and talk about Ali the person. So I want you to talk to me about your football journey so far. Have there been periods in your career where you felt like maybe this maybe like you felt like you've had enough, you felt like your input wasn't enough? Like, have you ever felt like you wanted to quit? Have there been moments like, sometimes us football players, for example, you're giving your 100%, but the coaches are ignoring you. The person who is playing in your position is not as good as you, and all of these things, they play a big role in the player's mind, you know. And so, talk to me a bit about your mindset, and talk to me a bit about periods in your career where you've wanted to quit.
Well, I think this happens to every single football player. You get to the point where you think, I can't do this anymore. I'm feeling very down, or maybe football is not fair with me. Or sometimes you would even have a bad performance and you think you're not good enough and you should probably like quit. But what I think that something I would say is good about me or is positive thing about me is that I have a strong mindset, to be honest. Like whenever I feel down, I make sure that I bring myself back up very quick. I don't stay down that long. And that's what has been keeping me going until today. That's what I think is one of my strengths is the way I approach the failures, the way I
The
approach
failures,
the
yeah.
injustices. Because as you said, yeah, you do go through injustices sometimes from whether it's a coach, whether it's a management, etc. But I always believe that I'm doing this for a reason, and I think that I didn't reach my full potential yet, and I'm thinking that there's always room for improvement. And as long as I am healthy and I focus on being healthy and being available to play, then there's always room for improvement and always room to reach your potential and get a better contract and prove a lot of people wrong. I like proving a lot of people wrong.
That's the mindset. So you have the Cristiano mindset, bro. That's amazing. So so what's been the hardest moment you've experienced in football? I mean, from Spain to Romania to Belarus, what was the hardest moment you've experienced?
There have been a lot of hard moments. I'm not gonna lie. Like I could mention, for example, when I came back from Spain and I was not allowed to go back there, I felt like that's the end of the my football career. Like I will never be able to achieve my dream of becoming a professional football player. And then again, I would say when I was in Romania, for example, I had a trial for Polytechnic Timișoara,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
was training with them. And then I got injured and I tore my MCL, my side ligament. And and then the team decided that they don't want to continue with me, because I'm injured, and they decided to get another player. That was another difficult moment, in my career. As well, going to Belarus as well, it was like I faced a lot of injustices playing in Belarus. As you said, maybe a coach just doesn't want to play you, even though the one playing in your position is not as good as you. And whatever the reason was, but I always try to take the positives out of all these situations. Even in Bahrain, there's a lot of ups and downs, but at the end of the day, you just gotta take the positives and try to learn from the negative, and not let them pull you down. That's what I try to do all the time.
Amazing, bro. You mentioned polytech. Do you know I was also before I came to Metaloglobus, I did pre-season with Polytechnic Timișoara. I was there
No
with
way.
yeah, I was there. I was there for like a month or so with Andre Artian and the guys. You know, Andre Artian, he eventually played for Ucluj, he played for Chefere as well. And
Yeah, I heard about
anyways,
that. When I was there, there was the coach Ionuț Popa at the moment, and I
yeah, it
was there
was
with them for like 3 weeks.
yeah,
I think I was training with them before I got injured.
yeah, okay. Anyways, so you've talked about what happens when, for example, you face difficult periods in football and how you let your mindset speak for you. So, have you ever felt, genuinely speaking, have you ever felt like you were overlooked by a coach?
What do you mean by overlook?
Overlooked, for example, you you know when you have three, four players in a particular position. You know when us football players we know who is who and we know who is better than the other guy. So have you ever
Yeah.
felt like you were overlooked for a guy who is probably slightly beneath your ability?
Yes, that has happened to me in Bahrain, in Belarus, and sometimes it's frustrating. It's upsetting. But as I told you, I think I have been actually under one coach here in Bahrain that have always overlooked me. I have always been not enough for him. But at the end of the day, I was always playing as a starter.
Yeah,
He was like all the time putting pressure on me all the time. Whatever I do is not enough. But I think that built something in my character that I think it made me stronger. And I had a meeting with this coach after 2 seasons. Later on, I met him. By coincidence, and he used to tell me, and I remember what he told me. He was like, "I remember I used to put a lot of pressure on you, Ali, but I liked how you was coping with all the
the
pressure that
pressure.
I was putting. I liked your mentality. I liked your mindset." And at the moment, when it's happening, it's not that nice. It's always difficult. But later on, when you reflect on that, you think like, yeah, that coach actually helped me to have the mindset that I have right now.
Yeah. And I was
And
just about to say, yeah, go on, go on.
no, I'm just saying like, uh, a football player goes through, a lot of different coaches in his career, in his, throughout his football career. And there are some coaches that really leave an impact on you, and they really, you know you can remember them forever. And I think that coach was one of them. The coach that I'm working with right now is one of these coaches, because he treats you like an older brother, not like a coach and player.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when you have that type of relationship, then you're willing to give everything on the pitch for him. You're there fighting for the coach.
Nice. And I was just gonna ask you like about uh the difficulties we all face as players when you feel like you're putting in your 100%, but at the same time, coaches don't appreciate you because every player is different. Some players, if you don't give them a warm, that warm, if you don't have that warm connection with them, like you make, for example, if you don't play them, you have to explain as to why you're not playing them, and some players just don't care, and some coaches also approach players in a different way. For example, it would have been a different thing if he constantly overlooks you and don't play you, but he still played you. So in other words, I'm thinking probably he must have seen that, okay, you react best to him putting more pressure on you. You know?
That's what he told me. That's what he said
Yeah,
later on. He said, I saw that you performed better under pressure, but I was not comfortable with that pressure. I actually was like, I was feeling very, pressured all the time. I would go home, complain to my family, like, this coach, he doesn't like me. He's always putting pressure on me. Whatever I do is not enough. I would give like 10 amazing passes in training and then one wrong pass, and he would focus on the wrong pass and he would try to bring me down. And I was like, why is that happening? But later on, you think about it and you're like, actually, that thing helped me improve a lot.
nice. This makes me remember. I was watching a documentary with Liverpool, and Steven Gerrard was talking about his experience with Rafael Benitez, and he was explaining basically the same thing, like your experience with your coach, and he was talking about how Rafa Benitez was always on him, always putting pressure on him, no matter what he did. Rafa was always on him, like to do more, and this it can discourage some players and it can encourage others. So, do you think my next question now is: do you think a coach's approach to a player has to vary with the player's personality?
Yes, I think that in order to become, I think that a good coach knows how to treat each and every player in a different way. Not all the players work in the same way. I have seen some players going through a lot of pressure from coaches and they end up performing bad or they end up leaving football. They say, we don't want to play football anymore under this coach. And while other players, no, they do react in a more positive way. So I think that a coach needs to learn or read every player's character, know how to approach each player in order to have, because at the end of the day, it's a team sport. It's not an individual sport, and you will need the whole team in order to get better results as a football club. So a coach that knows how to deal with all the team, I think that's a more successful coach, in my opinion.
Yeah, amazing. So, in the same line of thought, what what what's your biggest rejection? Have you ever experienced any rejection? And what was the biggest rejection you experienced in football?
Yes, I did reject. I did experience a lot of rejection actually in football. One of them was in Romania, for example. I was in a team called Academica Clinceni.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
know
I
them. Yeah,
had,
I know Clinceni.
yeah, exactly. I did the preseason with them. I played the friendlies with them, and I personally saw that I was one of the best players in the team. I was like, this is going very well for me. Wow, I'm gonna definitely be signed by this team. And then later on, they just decided to go on with a different player because he was, a local player, 2 years younger than me, and they were like, "Yeah, we want him." And I felt very disappointed at that moment. I was like, I think that's one of the first moments where I realized football is not fair.
Yeah, and I think it builds character. You know,
Definitely,
when
definitely.
yeah, when you see, for example, how can I put it? Like you went to Poli Timisoara, they couldn't take you. You went to Metalo Globus, and they didn't want to pay you what you were worth or what you felt like you were worth. And you went to Clinceni, they rejected you. And I think it builds character. And so my next question to you is, from all of these things you've said to me, how do you think that these rejections along the way prepared you for the career you have today?
I think that these rejections are a test, to see how bad you really want to become a professional football player. Do you really want to achieve that thing? You want to go through the ups and downs, or or you just want the easy path? And as you know, in football, there is no such thing as easy way to becoming a professional football player. And I have seen a lot of very, very good football players who would face one or two rejections and then they would give up on football and they would go and, pursue a different career, for example. And at the same time, for me personally, getting rejected this many times made me question, do I really want to do this thing or should I do something else? And my answer was yes, I do want to become a professional football player. So I guess the next one, go again and look for the next challenge, the next experience. That's how it was for me.
Yeah, nice man. So definitely prepared you for who you are today. So
Yes.
what have you sacrificed the most for football? What has football taken away from you personally?
I think that football, I have sacrificed spending time with my family, for example. Because I was born in Riyadh and all of my family live in Riyadh. I sacrificed that thing. I sacrificed seeing my nephews, my nieces growing up. I sacrificed spending time with my friends, because I don't have like my close friends, they're not football players. So I had to travel, I had to live away from them. And it's kind of like lonely in order to reach where you want to reach. But luckily, I had my wife. She was a very good companion along the way.
Yeah. And my next question was going to be, what has football given you? But eventually, it's given you a wife, because if you didn't go to Spain, if you didn't go to Romania, you wouldn't have made your wife. So football can take a
Definitely.
lot from you, and it can also give you a lot. So
And also
that's
football
amazing.
gave me, football gave me, of course, my wife, and at the same time, it made me Bahraini citizen right
Yeah,
now. And I think that's a very, very big blessing, and I'm very, very grateful for that.
yeah,
If I, who knows, if I wasn't a football player, probably I would have never become a Bahraini citizen.
yeah,
And thanks to football, thanks to Bahrain, to, the sheikhs, the royal family here, who a lot of members of them believed in me, supported me, stood with me along the way. And, here there is a man called Muhammad Jalal. I'm sure you don't know him, but I would really like to thank him for believing in me and for giving me this opportunity. He was very clear from the beginning. You're good enough. You can represent Bahrain national team. Then you deserve to be a Bahraini. Simple as that.
yeah.
And I worked very hard to get the Bahraini citizen and to get the Bahraini passport.
Amazing, bro. And it's amazing because this was going to be our next line of conversation. So take me back to the moment you found out you were going to represent Bahrain. How did that feel like?
I didn't represent the national team yet. But the
Yeah,
moment that I was told that, okay, you're going to be a Bahraini citizen, you're going to become Bahraini, it was a moment filled with emotions, to be honest. I couldn't, I don't know if there are any words that are able to express what I felt at that moment,
yeah,
because it came after a lot of years, a lot of sacrifices. You have to stay playing in the Bahraini league for 5 consecutive years, And me coming to Bahrain, I played for one season and then I got the Belarusian offer, the offer from Belarus.
from Belarus.
So
Yeah,
they told me, look, if you go, then you will not get the Bahraini citizen because then you would have broken, the consecutive 5 years and you will have to start again from zero.
yeah,
And I was like, yeah, I will go with it. I'm going to go to Belarus. I'm sure it's going to be something that will improve me as a football player. I believed in that journey, and that experience. I
yeah,
went there, coming back to Bahrain, I had to restart again from zero. And then I played for 5 consecutive years. Just last June, actually, I finished the 5 years, like few months
yeah.
ago. I finished the 5 years, the consecutive 5 years that allows me to
Requirements.
represent
Yeah,
exactly. And yeah, getting the passport was a moment filled with pride, I think.
yeah. So you've I mean you've partly achieved your dream. You've gotten the passport, and I believe the next thing is going to be representing them on the international stage. So what's still missing? Championship, bigger club, more international caps, financial security, something outside football?
Uh, they say a human being is always greedy. We're always looking for more. To be honest, if you would have asked me this question 3 years ago, I would have told you I want what I have right now. And now you're asking me this question, so I feel like no, it's not enough. I want to grow more. I want more financial stability. I want to represent the Bahraini national team, win with them, qualify. To be honest, if you would ask me what's my dream, it would be to qualify with Bahrain to the World Cup. That's
To the
my
World
dream.
Cup. Bro,
Yeah, the
I wish you
2030
all the
World Cup.
best, and I hope to see you represent Bahrain in the next World Cup, man. To be honest, I hope to see it happen. So,
I hope so, and I'll remember this conversation that we're having right now
yeah.
for sure.
So, bro, let me just give you a little background as to why uh, I started this podcast. I started the podcast with my my brother Sammy, Big Sam. He's a bit busy, so he couldn't be on this episode. And so we started the podcast because he was an amazing goalkeeper. He played professional also in Greece and then in Romania, and he got injured. I played as well. I got injured, and we thought about something that we could do to give back to the younger generation, or to give back to guys like myself and him who probably had dreams, and these dreams were cut short because of injuries, because of unforeseen circumstances. And so we said, okay, let's give a platform to guys who can come and share their stories, and to guys who are still actively playing, who can come like yourself and share their stories. And so, because you never know what can happen tomorrow, you understand? Because,
Right.
like you said earlier, you have your plans, God has his plans, the universe has his plans, and anything can happen. So, I want you to talk to me a bit about Ali after football, or let's say if football ends tomorrow, who would you be?
I will be a football coach. That's what I'm gonna be. I am
Yeah,
very passionate about coaching. I'm very passionate about, fitness, about, I'm a very tactical player. I like to understand the tactics. I like to analyze. And I think that I would pursue this career. I would like to become a football coach.
amazing, amazing. So, and it all starts from preparation. Have you started doing your badges, and have you started preparing to become a coach in
I've
the
been
future?
I've been having some courses online, about coaching, about physical coaching as well. But as you know, if you are a national team player, then you don't have to do anymore the FIFA license, the D. You just have to do the C, B, A, and Pro.
Yeah.
So I'm like waiting. Hopefully, if I get called up by the national team, then I can jump directly to the C. You know what I mean?
When you get called up, not if you get called up, when you get called up to the national team.
When I get called up, exactly. Thank
Amazing.
you.
Yeah. So we are getting to the end because I need to leave you so you can go for training. Do you think footballers prepare enough for the day football stops? Because I hear so many stories from guys who say after football, when they retire, they don't know what to do with their lives, because football takes you away from your friends, your family, everything. So do you feel like football players prepare enough for the day football stops?
I think it depends what level of football player you are. For example, if you ask me now about a football player who signed in Saudi Arabia, I will tell you, yeah, he is ready for when he retires. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, yeah,
a different level of football players who are earning good enough, but not, they're not financially stable for a lot of years, then I think they can prepare more. I think they can do a lot more to prepare themselves, their families for what's coming after their football career.
yeah. Nice. So, and I have three more questions for you. But the first one is, what's something about your football journey that people looking from the outside will never understand unless you tell them?
They will never understand how much hard work and rejection and hard moments a football player or me personally I've been through in order to become who I am now.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing. Amazing. That's amazing insights, bro. And I think I've had a lot of guys on the podcast, and every one of them say the same thing: the sacrifices we make, the hard work, the rejection, and most times, for example, I remember when I got injured when I was in Bucharest, bro. I was in my apartment for a week. Nobody showed up to check on me. Nobody called me, and that's when you realize that okay, this is actually a lonely life, you know. Uh, but also it shapes you and it gives you some sort of courage to like pivot and do something else. And so if you could go back and speak to a young Ali in, let's say, Spain, when you just moved to Spain, and you were still thinking about or still trying to figure out how professional football would look like, what would you tell him?
Uh, it's a little bit complicated because, I'm very grateful for my journey. I'm grateful for everything I've been through because it has shaped me to who I am. If I would, let's say, not speak to a younger Ali, if I would speak to my son, if I had a son and he is right now in Spain, I would tell him or help him maybe pay more attention to football and not get distracted by a lot of other things. I think that if I was more focused on football, if I was guided, because as I told you, I don't come from an athletic family or a football family. So a lot of things that I have been through was me for the first time experimenting. I had to
Yeah,
do a lot of wrong things in order to know what the right thing is. So I would change that. Maybe for my son in the future, I would help him, I would guide him, I would tell him maybe where he should go. Of course, he has to experience a lot of things, but at the same time, I think that that's the small thing that I would change in my childhood, or when I
yeah,
was in Spain. I would focus more on football, more on myself, and not get very distracted.
amazing. And the last question is, when football is finished and people are talking about Ali Nasser in the future, what do you want them to remember?
That I never gave up, that I always worked very hard, and I don't accept any excuses at all.
Amazing, bro. Thank you for coming on the podcast. It's been Ali Nasser, it's been Joel, and guys, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and we wish Ali all the best with Bahrain. We hope to see them in the World Cup. And Ali, it's been amazing, bro. I'm proud of your journey, and I remember the days in Metalo Globus during preseason when we had to move grounds just to go train, and it was not easy, bro. And I'm proud of everything you've achieved so far. So, guys, until the next episode, Setse Valate DJ Klim. Shelele.